Excited to welcome Alabama head coach Kristy Curry to the basketball podcast. Since Coach Curry became the head coach of the University of Alabama women's basketball team in 2013, each season has produced significant wins and new milestones. Curry has been coaching for over 23 years and has an overall head coaching record of 462 and 281. Curry came to Alabama to find a new challenge after leading Texas Tech and Purdue for 7 seasons each. She led the Boilermakers to 7 NCAA tournaments, including a national championship game appearance, while winning 5 straight Big Ten titles. When Curry came to Alabama from Texas Tech, the Crimson Tide was coming off back-to-back 2-win SEC campaigns. Now it has reached 20 wins in back-to-back seasons. And the Crimson Tide has returned to the NCAA Tournament, ended a decade-long losing streak against Tennessee, and brought the program back to prominence. Coach Curry, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today, Chris.
Excited to have you. Incredible career, so many stops along the way. And Coach, I think it's a good one to start with is just to ask you a little bit in general about some of the keys to longevity in coaching, because you've done it.
I've been really blessed. Obviously, my mom was a high school coach, so I had a chance. And then my dad was a junior high football coach for 38 years. So I had 2 coaches at home every day, and I wanted to grow up and be just like them. And so I was a high school coach for 3 years, started at 21, and then got the chance to go be an assistant for 8 years at several different stops. And, to be blessed to be at Texas Tech, Purdue, and now Alabama, I've been really fortunate to make sure that that my beliefs, my values, that it aligned with who I was working for and working with every day. So a lot of times in coaching, you're not that fortunate, but I've been blessed to have tremendous staffs and players. And, recruiting is the lifeblood of every program. So whether you're recruiting players or staff, I think it's really important to make sure that those folks in your program line up with what your values are and what you believe in.
Absolutely. And, Purdue obviously helped make a national power. Texas Tech had great tradition. Alabama seems to be the outlier a little bit in the sense that you came to a program that was really struggling. And obviously you've had incredible milestones along your way. But talk to us a little bit about that, about the bravery, so to speak, to leave those traditional powers to go to one that wasn't one yet.
Yeah, I had been to, I was an assistant at Louisiana Tech for Leon Barmore. Kim Mulkey was on that staff, and we went to 2 Final Fours out of 3 years. And a little bit caught me off guard, Purdue calls. I'm 32 years old. I'm like, I'm a Louisiana girl. I didn't even know what snow was, Chris. And, go to the Big Ten. I can't take a lot of credit. At Purdue, Carolyn Peck and Neil Fortner had done an unbelievable job. And it was kind of just don't come in here and mess this up, just kind of build on, they had just won the national championship. So I followed a national championship, and, we were fortunate to sign the number 1 class in the country, and then continued that 7 straight tournaments, a couple of Big Ten titles, but we had tremendous leadership from a Katie Douglas and a Camille Cooper and a Kelly Camaro. And then we were just able to make sure that we continued to recruit at a really high level. Indiana had such great in-state talent at the time. So we were able to build on the success of the past, but we also embrace the past. I think a lot of coaches come into situations and they don't embrace the past, and they don't respect it. You just want to change everything. Well, there really wasn't a whole lot broken there. So it was more than just don't mess it up. And then, I got the call to go to Texas Tech and follow Marcia Sharp, who we know is one of the greatest legends in the game. Truly was an honor. And so I take the Texas Tech job. I grew up, in a time with Coach Barmore and Jody Conrad and Marcia Sharp, in the South, with Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Georgia. That's my part of the world. And to follow Marcia Sharp, took that challenge on. So then Alabama calls. Come to Alabama, and I'm like, okay, I just followed a national championship, followed a legend. This is completely different. And it was interesting, Chris, because Alabama called to be my 3rd year at Purdue, and I told them no. And they called it back 10 years later. And so I think just the opportunity to get back to this part of the country, my parents were getting older. I'm 5 hours away for the first time instead of 14 and 12. And it was just a new challenge. And we had just taken Tech to 2 out of 3 years to the tournament. And man, talking about an awakening, it was a completely different situation. And we took a lot that we had done at both places, both of our stops, and had just, we incorporate a little bit longer of a build here, a lot harder job in this league. But we're excited. I mean, we've had back-to-back 21 seasons, 2 out of the last 3 years go to the tournament, top 15 recruiting class, the second McDonald's All-American in school history, and we feel like we've got it rolling. So we're excited about the future, and we go into our 11th season. So, I think Alabama really sold us on building. And I had really always inherited something. And it was just a challenge to build. I think it's a lot of fun to build and do something that hasn't been done.
It's such an insight there. And I was going to ask you about that. And you pretty much answered it about building. And that would be the difference. And you mentioned being a young coach going in and understanding not to change things. When you take the Alabama job now, does that give you an opportunity to change a lot?
Well, I think we were just trying to double knot our shoes, put our shirt tail in and get from A to B. I was so lucky at Purdue. One of the most amazing people I had a chance to learn from was Joe Tiller, the former football coach there, who took me under his wing and was so good to our program. And he told me one day, and every time he would see me, hey, girl, just do what you're supposed to when you're supposed to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And so much about Alabama is we just needed to do what we were supposed to when we were supposed to, the way it was supposed to be done, from the classroom to the court to the community to the support staff to hiring the right staff in this program. And we've just been so blessed. It's never been about me. I've been so lucky to have, tremendous staffs, tremendous players, and just really good people around our program. It takes a village, right? It takes a village at my house to raise 2 little girls, and obviously 15 at the office. So I've just been really lucky to understand that it takes everybody, that it's a lot bigger than me. We talk a lot at Bama about it's not the back of our chest, it's the front of our chest that we represent. And I try to be that way as well. I'm just really lucky to have a great staff and a great group of kids around me.
Well, we're grateful to have it about you on this podcast, Coach. So this is going to be fun to get a little bit deeper into kind of your journey and some of the things that led to your success. And we mentioned longevity in coaching. I'm just wondering, from a female coaching perspective, is there anything more specific about being a woman in coaching that maybe are challenges or things that have helped you lead to longevity? Because certainly that seems to be a challenge to be able to maintain and keep females in coaching.
Yeah, I've been really blessed, I think, in my situation to have an administration, that supported me as a mother, and as a wife. And I think one of the hardest things in coaching anymore that I see, and it's a little bit bothersome, is it's really hard, not just for us as females, but also the males as well, to have a work-life balance. With the way the recruiting calendars are now, with the way everything is from promoting your program, the hours we're allowed to work with our team. I mean, I think it's the longest season, right? Men's and women's basketball in any sport. And so how do you balance, being a mom and also being a coach? And, how did I balance that when I got married as an assistant coach? And then how do you balance that as a head coach? So I think I just look at it like this, you're too blessed to be stressed. It's the best tired feeling in the world. And you have to be organized, and you have to have a great village around you. We were so fortunate. We were 14 and 12 hours from family. So from a group of college students, a group of women in the community, to daycare, man, it's just juggling it, right? And we're like any other professional. It's really hard, but you just figure it out, and you just right foot, left foot, breathe every day and put a plan together and go out and execute it. But I think I would hope that I'm a role model for so many out there, that you can be a mom in coaching. And I think we're all moms at the office. I see this every single day as a family. People talk about that, but we actually try and live it, and we talk about grit, being the grittiest, hardest worker in the room. We talk about loving each other, and then we talk about gratitude, being thankful. So, I think as a mom and as a coach, I try to live those 3 things, and those around me kind of simulate that. So it's all of us working together on that.
You mentioned being, and I love it, too blessed to be stressed. What a great line, Coach. That's awesome.
I've got it over here by my desk. I had a lady that made that for me. So I think we really are, again, it's really, really a challenge. You have to have a great family, have to have a great spouse or partner, and you just work on it every single week, every single month.
And you mentioned administrative support. I know you've had your husband around your program, which has been helpful, no doubt. But were your kids around the program, allowed to be around the program as well? And that's part of the administrative support. And I found that with my coaching, that my administration was all okay if my kids were around.
Absolutely. I mean, we're so lucky. I mean, when we were signed a contract at Purdue, they're like, "Hey, we'll travel a nanny for you." And my 22-year-old never missed a trip the first 5 years. Thankful to, the administration at Purdue for making that important. And I think also, it showed our players that you can be successful professionally and also have a family. And so I hear so many of them will say, "I don't know how you did that. I don't know how you did that, but I'm glad that I got a chance to see you do that, because now it makes it easier when every single time I think it's hard, I think about, man, coach had those kids with us." And so I think at the end of the day, I was really fortunate too, because I had a couple of, mentors in coaching, that I saw them have families. And, it's been, not only as a female, but also those males that managed it. And I think as a staff here, I mean, my coach had his two little girls at camp the other day. They're running around, the campers are playing with them. I just think it's so good, and our kids will turn out okay. I mean, my two have turned out okay so far, but the experiences they get from what we get to do, where we traveled, the things that we saw, so many little girls having an opportunity to look up to my big girls. My two at home look up to them still to this day.
Love that. That's so wonderful. And I know part of this is also you're involved in the WBCA coach to coach mentoring program. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and maybe some of the topics or some of the things that you share with other coaches?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing program, and actually did that 2 years ago. It was right after COVID. And so we would do weekly Zooms, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, sometime based off if we're in season or out of season. But the most amazing group of young women that I had a chance to get to know, that not only I hope I gave them a little knowledge, I think I learned more than I could possibly give them from the three of them and just their perspectives as assistants. And so just the opportunity for us to share different ideas. One was work-life balance and how do you manage everything? What do you do with your players that are really struggling, with a skill set? I mean, it was from the X's and O's to the off the floor. How do you handle your academics? Well, how do you handle your itineraries for travel? Well, how do y'all travel? Well, how do you travel? What do you do for your team meals? What do you do for culture? And we just talked random topics. We would always send topics in. I had a list that we were kind of following from the WBCA and would also always cover, but it was more than, because we had different leagues. We had a BYU, we had a smaller league. Now one's actually an assistant in the WNBA. So a lot of various backgrounds that we could all learn from each other. And, I had a chance at the Final Four to be a part of their mentoring madness, where, young coaches came in and they spent, 15 minutes at one table with us and then would rotate tables. And, to hear from those folks now, it's a lot of fun to share ideas. So long story short, I think it's just a way for us as head coaches to be able to inspire them that they can do what we're doing. And how can we help the game grow? We're all on the same page. We all just want women's basketball to be at the highest level possible and to help our young women every day.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And tremendous program. WBCA does so many
Absolutely.
things like that. Yeah. Let's get into some of those technical and tactical things, and particularly style of play. And I know you played different styles throughout your career, but it seems like a bit of a shift over the last three, and especially last year, in terms of 3-point attempts and embracing that, and 702 second in attempts in your league, and then first, I think, in 3-point percentage, and then third nationally in 3-point percentage. So talk to us a little bit about that shift and embracing the 3-point shot.
Yeah, we love to shoot layups and threes. We feel like those are higher percentage shots. We were 29th, I think, nationally in points per possession. It's something that my first couple of years, we obviously had, I think, a post player big inside. So we kind of adapted to our personnel. I mean, she led the country in field goal percentage. And so we played a little bit more inside out. I can see us now with the personnel that we have on this year's team getting a little bit more versatile inside and being able to do some things. But we love a 5-out system. We love for all 5 to be able to shoot the 3. And it's just something that we feel like, that our game has given us the opportunity, maybe not being as big as others in our league, the opportunity to be able to create mismatches. We want to play. We don't play against the set defense. So we want a 1-second decision. We want to shoot the first open shot, make the first decision we possibly can. And it's been a fun system and style of play. We've obviously had 2 out of the last 3 years WNBA draft picks, which is the first time in a ton of years here. And so this system we feel like is really a pro style system that helps players develop their versatility. We spend a tremendous amount of time, Chris. I just walked by the gym and one of my assistants had 2 kids that had volunteered to come in today. We believe a lot. We don't feel like there's anybody in the country that works more on individualizing their skill development plan that fits our system from an offensive standpoint.
It's great. I'm watching some clips, obviously, on Synergy and Fun Style, and enjoy watching it. I'm curious, about particularly your league. I mean, a powerhouse league. Was that something that you felt you had to adapt in order to be able to compete in the league, to be able to be better and be different?
Yeah, I think for a little bit, we weren't 6'5", 6'6". We didn't have multiple bigs inside. And I mean, we've gotten more to that this year. We're a lot bigger. So we're really excited about having more point production in the paint and playing a little bit more inside out. But we also feel like the couple that we've recruited can also shoot the 3. So we just feel like it puts us at an advantage. It's really hard to guard. We create mismatches, and it's hard for a lot of big folks to come out and guard that 3 sometimes. And then, we put it on the floor and get a lot of looks at the rim, play off 2 feet, create advantages. There are a lot of people in our league that love to shoot the 3, but then there's some that not. So I don't think there's one way that's right or wrong. We just feel like it's really fit for us and worked for us. We've always believed in great guard play, along the way at our stops. And then, we've really been really good at developing the forward position here, in a Brittany Davis and a Jasmine Walker. And, we feel like now we've signed, our second McDonald's and Essence Cody. It's going to be fun to watch Essence continue to be able to have the ability to step out and face up and finish inside and out. And that's a pro style, right? Anymore, you can't just be one dimensional. So we love developing 3-level scorers, and feel like we do a good job with that.
You mentioned matchups and trying to create mismatches. Is that simply like pace of play in terms of trying to play fast and then create cross matchups? And then Once you do that, what are you doing to attack those matchups? Are you attacking them mainly on the perimeter, or are you attacking them inside? What are you doing to attack matchups?
Yeah, I mean, we want to play, a lot of 5 out, and we want to play really, really fast. Everything that we do in practice with the pace, and that's the biggest adjustment transition for a lot of young kids. That's what we're going through this past week a little bit. First time they've ever played with the shot clock, much less. I mean, we want to be into our offense with 22, 23 on the clock, and so it's a fast-paced style. It's a lot of fun. It's a pro style, and we create a lot of mismatches. I mean, we don't want to play against a set defense. So again, defensively, we feel like that's something that we've really done a much better job. We've had more of a press style here lately. We really picked up and pressured more to create offense from our defense. It's hard to play every time we allow someone to score in this league because they're so big and strong, and you've got 6'6" at the rim. We spend a lot of time on our finishes. We spend a lot of time, on game-like spots and shots and no hesitation, and giving our kids a lot of confidence in shooting the basketball. And, we chart everything every single day, and we really work on kids developing a really great quick release.
And what are you charting in terms of, shot quality, in terms of, especially you're trying to emphasize pace of play?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot. We chart all of our threes. We chart all our our free throw. We do a free throw ladder every single week. Every single day I want to be above 75%. And we work a lot. We'll come out and spend 8 minutes on finishes every single day with the position breakdown around the rim. I think that's a part of the game, that a lot of people don't take time for. You just automatically assume because it's around the rim, it's a make, but spend a lot of time on all the different finishes, especially on the perimeter. Because when you get to our level, you're sitting there 6'6", 6'7", waiting on you at the rim. It's a little bit different than the high school level. And so, and playing off 2 feet and make a good decision. So, we spend a lot of time in offensive advantage drills. Again, just a quick decision, a 1-second decision, we call it. So we chart our threes, our free throws, our finishes, our assisted turnover ratio every single day, all areas. And we spend a lot of time. We use a company called HDI that helps us on a daily basis and a game-like basis with everything that we do on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, fun stuff. And you mentioned the free throw ladder. Is that a competition in terms of the number of free throws they're shooting? They can challenge up and down, or explain to us a little bit about that competition.
Yeah, we want to make more free throws than our opponent shoots every single game. That's a game goal. And we feel like, a lot of people, I don't know, we had a team a couple years ago that really struggled. And I actually had a team my 4th year maybe at Texas Tech. So one of the most awesome parts of my career has been the ability to watch a Gene Katie practice, right? The ability to watch Bobby Knight practice. Now here, obviously I got a chance to watch Avery Johnson. Now I get a chance to watch Nate Oates. So how do they practice free throws, right? So a couple of it's just kind of a combined philosophy on, we'll take a water break, 2 free throws. We chart every single one of those. We do a lot of line drills at the end, but it's a free throw ladder that builds through the week, and everyone has to be 75% or higher. If they're not, we have the accountability that week based off on how much travel that week, extra free throws, extra makes. And then we have a couple little red ladders, simple painted ladders at the end of the Saturday practice before we play on Sunday. We've got 2 free throw ladder winners, and man, our kids really get into it. Everything that we try to do, and everything is competitive, whether it's our shooting times, whether it's, our breakdowns in practice, our shooting drills. We spend a lot of time shooting the 3, several drills that we do that are really game-like, game pace. And if you don't have a certain number, you've got accountability at the end that day. And we just spend so much time working on the little things, game pace, that it all becomes repetition, right? Free throws are repetition, but you got to practice them. So the main little thing was borrowed from some of the things that Coach Knight did. I thought he did a really good job in his practices of shooting free throws when you were tired. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You mentioned accountability as well. And I love that you said you vary it based on workload throughout the week. So can you just give us an example of, say, an easy workload week? What would be accountability versus, a more intense
Absolutely.
week?
Say we're regular in our SEC routine and, we're on a Tuesday and we don't meet our numbers and where we're supposed to be from our Northwest Florida and our 2-minute 3-point shooting drill. We're going to stay and make 50 extra. And then our free throw ladder at the end of the week, we know we have to get another 200 the next week on top of what we're getting in practice. So it's based on that. If we got a 3-game, in the preseason, and we'll adjust it a little bit, not be so tough the next week. We know coming up based off their day off too.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And,
but we do 3 30-minute shooting windows, part of our 20 every week. So that's where there's just one player out there and they're getting repetition on the gun, face up. If it's post, we're doing our finishes around the rim. So we spend a lot of time. That's also part of our 20. I try not to go over 2.5. I've tried to mature with that a little bit. We go to Spain in August. So we're about to have a whole different summer than we normally have with 18 practices, our 10 plus the 4 hours a week. So it's a lot of fun for us right now here in June and July, because we have that to look forward to and we have more time with them. But I also don't want to wear them out mentally and physically. So I think that's every week, just trying to look at your plan. We use Polar, the pace, and, more about making sure that we're getting the right number of reps, but not too many to wear them down from November to December. Then what happens in February?
I can't tell you how many NCAA coaches I've had conversations with about the off season and how hard it is to be able to do things and not prepare for games. Right. Not have that immediate kind of like, what are we working towards type of feeling. So I'm imagining the foreign trip changes that a lot for you and your players.
It really does. We're just taking it. We're trying to make sure that, they're so excited to be here, right? This first week, and they're all wanting extra and they're all wanting to come in and get shot. I'm like, yo, it's going to be okay. Just, but they're so excited. So I think it's finding that balance, because over time, they play so many games before they get to us. And, we just want to make sure that we're healthy come January, February, when it matters most.
Absolutely. And, getting ready for a foreign trip. I've had a lot of experience in playing teams coming to Canada on their foreign trip when I was a college coach up there. And in that short prep time, can you talk to us about some of the things that you're emphasizing during that short prep time?
Yeah, so we actually this week, have spent our 4 hours a week. We had 2 team camps. So we took an hour of our team camp time and kind of had a mini clinic. And it was only our first 2 days of our kids being here. So we were really teaching and talking to not only the coaches and the kids in the stands, but to our players as well. So we've tried to change it up a little bit. Instead of just shutting the door and letting it be us, we've shared a lot with folks this week. But next week, we're excited because our 4 hours that we'll be able to spend with our players, really starting to install, from the ground up, because we have 6 new faces. And that's going to be part of our life now, right? With the portal, we've got 3 freshmen, which are a normal class. Then you add the portal. So you've got to slow down and teach. I don't think you can go too fast. So really breaking things down from a defensive system and offensive system the best that you can in 4 hours a week. And then our strength coach, is carrying over everything that we're trying to do from a stance and a defensive standpoint and some of the areas and the things that she's working on. So, we have a plan laid out here for summer 1 with our hours, and then summer 2, and feel like we have a progression, but we're not going to take shortcuts. If we don't accomplish what we want that day, we believe in repetition, and patience is a virtue right now.
I love hearing about this and diving deeper. And certainly, again, you're going to get feedback with those games in Spain as well. With that, are you an install offense first, defense first? What's your philosophy in terms of those things?
We're offense first. I wish we were a little bit more defense, and we're working on trying to improve that. But we want to play really fast, and we love to score the basketball. And I think that's something that's a fun system and style of play. I mean, we love, again, we're gonna 6 to 8 points a game off baselines and sidelines. We're going to execute. We're going to look at how we're being guarded. We're going to carry that over into the scout. We may put some of those in that week. We're going to put some ISOs, and we'll have some different things that we're going to do set play wise, but we just want to put them in space, and we want them to make plays. We want to teach them how to play the game instead of controlling. And I think that's something that we've really, really done a good job with, and kids love to play. And I think it's impacted our recruiting.
When you talk about teaching them how to play within conceptual concepts, obviously within transition, are you emphasizing certain things in terms of things that trigger actions and specific actions for specific players, or specific actions in specific spots? Can you talk to us a little bit about some of those concepts?
Yeah, I mean, it's specific actions for specific spots. I mean, we want certain spots filled. And actually with this team, it's been a little bit different because we don't necessarily have that true 5, and we're not going to outlet. We're going to dribble bust it. 1 through 5 with certain lineups. We've got 2 kids that's going to be a little different, but it's just installing in their spots and their spacing and understanding, what we're looking for in the different reads and react. So it's, again, we just want them to learn. It's going to look a little messy, but we want them to learn by making mistakes. And, there's certain actions that we do want. So we are going to control that piece of it. We're not just going to run up and down without any concepts.
Are you envisioning with this group, is it defaulting the ball screen to dribble handoffs to gets or screening action?
Yeah,
what type of action?
We're going to set a lot of ball screens. I mean, working hard and broke some things down this week on how to read, coming off the ball screen, the hesitation. And again, that all adds into the finishes that we work on so much, right? It's making that 1-second decision. So, we work a lot with the bigs on the roll, the pop, and just breaking it down from the ground up. So it's we got a lot of work to do, but we're excited about this group and the versatility that this lineup gives us for the first time in a really long time.
I love it. Can't wait to watch this versatility on offense, and certainly 5 out and all the different things that go with pace of play, which is awesome. You mentioned finishing a few times. So talk to us a little bit about how you're developing that within practice. You mentioned this is a daily thing. Are they doing it on air with no defense? Are they doing it versus defense? What are the type of things that you're doing in terms of developing finishing?
So we start with the, on air, and then obviously we have our pads and our practice staff, that can actually be on the floor. And I'm really excited about the new rule July 1st. We can have 6 coaches on the floor. We have a tremendous group of managers. And then in the fall and spring, when our practice guys are in town, we really work on finishing with contact. So we start from the ground up in the air, and then we'll add the contact, the pad in. Again, we'll do a lot of 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 build up with finishes. So just a lot of different ways that we work on it. But this week it was obviously a lot with the air. And we actually, in front of our count, did 8 minutes of ball handling and then 12 minutes of our different finishes, and broke our kids up at baskets. And we do it by position. And so, each group is working on those areas that we feel like are important. And it's been amazing to watch, because so many kids coming in, you've got your right hand, left hand layup, but, none of the other little areas that you can work on, from the rondo, the up and under, all the things that we try and teach. That, again, when you get to the paint in the SEC, you've got a lot of size waiting on you.
A lot of size.
Yeah, a lot of size.
And you also mentioned everything's competitive. So I'm curious, Lynn, defensively, what are some things that you're charting defensively to be able to emphasize that competition side in practice?
Yeah, I mean, we're charting deflections. We love the 3 stops in a row.
What do you call that? A lot of people call it kills. What do you call it?
Yeah, we call it kills.
Yeah.
I know. I've told our staff, why does everybody call it the same thing? So, but that's something that I think our kids take a lot of pride in. It's something too that we've got to get a lot better at. But, we spend a lot of time just making sure that everything again is competitive time score situation. And there's obviously accountability. I mean, we've done it two ways. We've done it at the moment, and then we've charted it for the end of practice, and we've gone crimson versus white. And it's based off a scoring system that we put together that, it's either plus or minus, right? And so kind of based off the whole day, then I don't really like stopping after every single drill because I think you lose your kids when you do that, and there's too much standing. And so we've carried it over into a plus minus, and we do it at the end of practice every day.
I couldn't agree more. And if we did do something quick accountability, it'd be like 2 push-ups, something super quick,
Absolutely.
just as emphasis, because to keep the flow of practice. So I totally agree with that. And, the other thing that shone through last year is obviously that you played 10 players, averaged more than 13 or around 13 or more minutes per game, which is great. So talk to me first about the benefits of playing 10 players over 13 minutes per game.
Well, I think it's the pace, and I think in this day and time, we feel like different lineups based off scout and situation. And, I think a little bit of that might be an injury or two, but we really feel like we can play 9 or 10 people because of the pace that we want to play at. And I think that's exciting in recruiting and to be able to sell, especially in this day and time with the portal. So our fast-paced style of play on both sides of the ball, the ability to go from A to B, from free throw line to free throw line, we want to win it every single time. So I think it allows us to play a lot more people.
Are there any challenges or things that you've learned in your time of playing that many players in terms of managing that?
Yeah, I think it's hard because, they come in and not having, most all of them, start and play, nearly, every minute of the game. So I think it's been more than that. We spend a lot of time on our culture and trying to understand that it's about we. And, we're stronger together than we are individually. And, we've also felt like too, in this day and time, you're going to have to allow young kids to make mistakes, and you're going to have to put them in the game to get better. And when you can say that we play that many people, I think it's going to show your young kids that you're going to give them an opportunity. Now, what they do with it's up to them, but just allowing them to get some minutes and get better. And I think it motivates them for future growth, right? They want to understand that, the off season's important, and they want to increase those minutes each and every year. I've had players, you look at a Hannah Barber who didn't play her first 2 years, but looked at what she needed to do. We would get her in, but she continued the last 3 years to just really elevate her game, but played a few minutes here and there as a freshman and sophomore. So I think you can learn a lot, and you can help them really be motivated to grow by including them and trying to get them minutes when you can.
Absolutely. And is your rotation, is it a set rotation? Is it based on feel or a little bit of both?
Well, I think it's based off of every week practice, it's not nothing's guaranteed, but how did the week go? How have the past 2 days gone? Before Tuesday, Wednesday, we play Thursday, and Friday, Saturday before we play Sunday. So I think every week's a new week. We talk a lot about hitting the reset button. And if what happened last week still looks big to us, we haven't done anything. So I think that's the same thing. If you haven't done anything, then what can you do this week to do something more?
Such a good point. And then once you establish that going into the game, you've established who had a good week and who deserves to play more or less. Do you have it kind of as a timestamp as, X players are going to go in at the 3-minute mark, or is it a little bit more based on feel?
I think it's based on feel. We obviously try and, in our coaches meetings, plan that and based off matchups, especially on the defensive end. But I also know too that, you can't always script it. It never really ends up that way. But it's something that I think too, Chris, that we really look at the course of the week, turnovers, assisted turnover ratio, how many rebounds, our shooting percentages, everything that we've charted and worked on during the week from an analytical standpoint, because numbers don't lie, right? Practice film doesn't lie. And so I think that, when you have competition, we feel like it has really elevated our program, and it starts in practice. Just the more competitive practices can be, the better we're going to be on Thursday, Sunday in this league. So, that's how we played so many people too. I think practices have become more competitive, and we felt like kids can really come in and contribute and help our team.
Well, I love that. I love that you're connecting practice to game and game to practice. And the numbers, as you said, really help you do that, don't they, nowadays?
They really do. We have a group of practice guys that are amazing. But again, fall, spring. And, there's certain days of the week, though, where I think it's really important not to lose your competitive edge against each other. So we blend that in practice where we're going crimson versus white. And then, we go against our practice players. And then we're able to also, the different combinations that we play based off who's upcoming in lineups. I mean, we try to intertwine those kids to give them some reps together, right? So I think that's important.
Well, and you mentioned you managing your players in terms of whether, they're playing or not playing as much that week based on practice. So what comes back to is obviously the relationships you have with your players. So talk to us about that, because I've heard from others that you do a great job fostering and building relationships with your players. And as you always already referred to, a little bit of that family atmosphere that helps that process.
Yeah, I think it's communication, right? The first, we just covered our 12 guidelines with our team on Monday. And, the first is communication. On the floor, off the floor, if there's something bothering you, playing time, come see me. Don't send your parent, come see me. There's something bothering you about the dorm, or your roommates being messy, or you don't understand your tutor. Let's communicate and let's find a solution. I think that's something that's lost sometimes, that you've got a head coach that's got an open door. I think too, your position coaches are an extension of who I am. So my 3 assistant coaches, and then just the communication and the constant communication that we have. These kids don't care how much I know. They want to know how much I care. And I think that's the biggest thing is, hey, let's go grab some coffee, or hey, let's go grab some lunch, or hey, when you get over here today, come by here. I just want to see your face. I was at 6 a.m. conditioning this morning. I know there are a lot of people out there that may say, well, I don't ever go to that. Well, I do. I want those kids to know that I'm invested, and I'm not saying you have to. That's just who I am. I want to be a part of everything we're doing in all aspects of our program, not to go look and see what my strength coach is. I just want to be present. We're asking these kids to be present. And if we're not present, I'm not sure how we can expect them to be present and all in. And just them seeing you, them being there with you, constantly checking on these kids. I mean, texting and calling. I sit in their living room. I built a relationship with them in recruiting, and I don't want it to be different when they get here. So try to spend a lot of time just on them as people, and getting to know what's going on in their world. And I think it's really becoming more challenging because, I told him yesterday, I can't text you to sprint to help side, and just teaching them how to communicate and talk on the floor, and then we're doing that off the floor and just all areas of the program. I think it's really important we're all on the same page.
I love that point about not being any different in the recruiting process to the reality of being in the program. That's so important. And then the other part of it is obviously it's easy to say communicate, but it's much harder to actually get them to openly communicate with a coach, because often they feel like, again, you control a lot of things. So I'm just going to tell you what you want to hear. So diving deeper into that, then how can you create that? Is it from the veterans on down that they encourage them to just be able to communicate, or what are some things that lead to that openness?
Well, I think the openness, from little things that we try to do, and I know it may sound, but, from our first Zoom that we had here a couple of weeks ago with everybody on the same page, hey, tell me what's your favorite food. Everybody on the Zoom. Hey, I know that
heard you're a foodie too, Coach. So
yeah, I am. I like my Mexican food, but I'll do whatever. But it's been fun to be in different parts of the country. But anyway, I like to go eat at really different places.
Me too.
Out and about, and we like to take our team to do that. So, I think it's we're having a lake day out at my house on Tuesday. Last year we had a book club. I mean, every week and a half, and then each player was picking one and we would discuss it. We went on a team retreat. I mean, just all the things off the floor, Chris, that I can possibly do. We kind of have what we call the Curry connection. So we have a section on weather. Okay. And then we explain to them here on campus how to plan for that. I mean, we're in a really crazy, stormy part of the country. So we talk about weather alert, weather aware, and they think I'm crazy. It's just the mama in me, I guess. And then we talk about the cleaning, have a cleaning Curry connection. I mean, you have so many girls that wish she's eating my food, or my apartment's dirty because she's not taking out the trash, but Coach, I took it out 10 times. I think it's just all the fun things off the floor, from a life skills standpoint too, that our department does and that we do. And then just so many different areas. I can't sit here and tell you every single thing that we try to do to build relationships with them, but we just really enjoy spending time with them beyond the basketball floor in so many different ways that I think impacts 94 feet more than you can ever imagine. They don't care, how much we know it's about how much do we care and get to know them as people.
I'm
Can't lose that in this day and time.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I actually had this conversation with a really, really high level female basketball player who's playing professionally now. And she mentioned that one of the challenges was that the program she was in did so much for her that she didn't know what to do on her own. And it's like amazing to me. But again, think about it, that in some programs you get pampered so much that you don't learn about some of these things that you're talking about.
Right. From little things, and I know it's going to sound cheesy, but how to address an envelope, how to shake a hand, how to say hello,
Love it.
how to walk into a room, just little things like that they'll go, I didn't know that, or, I know I need to start doing that, or we won't do it. And they'll go, oh, I should, and again, I know it may sound cheesy, and we're not perfect here, but I'm a really big believer that this is a 50-year plan. It's not a 4-year plan. And when you leave Alabama as a female, I want to make sure that you're able to impact the rest of your life in the most positive way possible in your community. And a lot of us, as females or males, maybe, may have to take care of our family by ourselves. You just never know the circumstances. I just want them to understand. And I think in our world, we're not making millions. We're going to still have a chance to play overseas, and we'll have a chance to play in the league, we hope. But at the end of the day, we've had 14 kids leave with 2 degrees. Yes, part of that was COVID. We've had multiple kids in 4 years I take more pride in that. And, I handle academics. So every Friday at 11, I'll meet with our academic advisor. I know every single class and test they have coming up. I know how they did. I can say, hey, that is a great job. I think just investing beyond just being the head coach with them on certain little things, but it takes a lot of time. But I think it allows them, that's why they want to compete every day, because they know we're competing for them and really care about them in their lives. I think it matters.
It matters, and it's not cheesy. I mean, every group of players I'm ever around, I tell them about this concept of when someone asks you how you're doing, don't respond okay, don't respond good. There's 100 different ways to say something better than good that changes the conversation with people. And if I say, how are you doing? And you say fantastic, aren't we going to have a better conversation immediately?
Absolutely.
Just because of one word? So Coach, it's amazing what you're doing. I love this.
Well, and I always tell them a smile's contagious, right? If I smile at you, you're probably going to smile right back at me. It's just human nature. So I think it's we're all here to make Alabama be great, but more importantly, how can they go out into this world and impact it and be ready to roll when they leave Alabama?
Well, it's beautiful because you're doing both at Alabama. And you mentioned, I mean, we can't leave without talking about some of the names you've been around in your coaching. You mentioned Joe Tiller already, Bobby Knight, Nick Saban, obviously Mike Leach, all these different names. And just tremendous people and coaches. And, I'm curious, again, some of your takeaways from being around those different types of coaches.
Yeah, the first person that comes to mind that's really impacted my life has been Coach Leon Barmore, who's a Hall of Famer, and man, gave me an opportunity just, being at Texas A&M and hired, and then hired Kelly. We weren't planning on working together. He called me in one day and said, hey, I know Kelly's coaching. I love what he does. I want him to come be my third assistant. I'm like, man, I just married him. I wasn't working with him. And he goes, it'll work. I'm just telling you. So we're right now blessed to be one of 4 couples in the SEC because of Coach. That's amazing. So just watching him and how he recruited and how he impacted community, and how he taught us at Louisiana Tech to, respect the past and embrace the future. I just took that with me, because each situation I've had, I think, you respect the past, you embrace the future, meaning you continue to just go to work and use the things that you should. But, and I think Joe Curl, I had a chance to work with Coach, who passed away, was the head coach at Houston, gave me an opportunity. And then Candy Harvey gave me my first opportunity. So on the women's side, but as far as the men's side, man, just a Mike Leach, how he helped us at Texas Tech and recruiting. And then Coach Saban, seriously, my dad passed unexpectedly. First phone call I got was from Nick Saban. He truly cares at Alabama about everybody being great, whether it's women's basketball, swim, golf, whoever. It's just, what can we do to help each other here be great? And that's unique, because you wouldn't necessarily think that. But anytime we call in recruiting, it's never a no. What can we do to help? Avery Johnson was incredible. I love watching his practices. Nate's been great. It's been fun to watch his system and style of play kind of line up with us a little bit, which is interesting. Looks at the rim and then the three. Coach Tiller was amazing. Just so many different people. How cool is it?
And was Marsha Sharp, was she actively
Yeah, she was
involved in mentoring when
incredible.
you were there too?
Yeah. I mean, whatever I needed, embraced us, really laid the foundation for me every single day to build on it. And, from in the community to in the office, just coach, just open door. What can I do to help you? Which I think is unique in this day and time, right? Sometimes when there's a transition, but she was incredibly special and will always appreciate how she embraced. And that's something I think moving forward in my career that I want to do for others, just like I had a chance to learn from her. So, I think it's just been a lot of fun. Coach Katie was amazing. And then Coach Knight, I get a call. I'm just taking the Texas Tech job and I get this call and he said, I didn't say who he was, calls me and says, "Hey, I never thought I'd ever work with anyone that had anything to do with Purdue, but you might be the first exception." I'm going, it just comes over me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the Bobby Knight. But he and his wife, Karen, and, they were so incredible. And he would just come over and sit down and just share ideas and then let us in his practices. So, and his wife was a former girls coach in Oklahoma. So it was a lot of fun. Sometimes I think, when you see all these people, they're just human and they just have done so much for our game. So I've always been blessed to try to embrace those folks and learn every little nugget I could, whether it was in an administrative meeting or whether it was on the court or just anything about how they run their program. So I've been really lucky to try to borrow some of those nuggets along the way.
Well, you mentioned that you hope to do that and give back, and you already are. You have quite the coaching tree already going, and I'm sure that'll just continue to grow as you continue to coach. So talk to us a little bit about the coaches, not specifically the coaches, but the coaching tree and the value of that to you.
Yeah, I mean, someone gave me an opportunity and, I had a chance to learn, like I said earlier, from my mom, who was a longtime high school coach, and that's what I wanted to be. And then I had a chance to start getting out and working Jody Conrad's camps and, Gary Blair's camps. And, I didn't even mention Coach Blair. Like, seriously, the reason that I got into college coaching was because he told one of his assistants about me and I didn't even plan on it. So Coach Blair, and then I married an Aggie. So, I've got a lot of good Aggies in my life, but, just so many people that gave me an opportunity. So I've loved being able to mentor and help young ones. Katrina Merriweather just got the Cincinnati job. Sharika Wright's the head coach at Texas Arlington, and then Brooke Storr, who I recruited to Louisiana Tech and was on my staff at Texas Tech, is now the head coach at Louisiana Tech, which we're so proud of. And so many former graduate assistants now are out coaching and teaching and the high school and collegiate level. So very proud of our coaching tree and, just what they're doing right now. There's so many of them.
Coach, this has been awesome. So fun to talk to you and, all these connections throughout your career, but obviously the success and the challenges that you took at the end of your career with the Alabama job. And it's so fun to see you build this program and continue to grow.
I appreciate you having us on, Chris, man. It's been a blessing and to have the opportunity to visit with you today. And we're just excited about the future and roll tide.